experience using all of your senses around you.
Being month Golden Pyramid.
Mm. In front of the
Mm.
pyramid, are you?
This is a large building complex. It's pyramid shape.
Mm.
It's, it's a city with this appearance of golden pyramids and red columns that make up most of the buildings.
Mm.
And the ground is like a stone.
Mm.
Mm. It's red. The sky is red and the sand is red. It feels like Mars.
Very good. And as you look around in this place and you use all of your senses very deeply now, and tell me what you see or experience around you.
My body seems to be somewhat crippled
Mm.
and well weak. More something wrong with it.
Okay.
I have a fancy cane, golden, silly cane, but I spend a lot of time sitting and laying down.
And does the body feel masculine or feminine or neither?
Mm, it is masculine, though not physically. I almost have no hormonal level, so it's somewhat in between, but it is masculine.
Okay. And does that body feel young or old?
Mm, feels middle-aged.
Okay.
It seems to be at a sort of mm, meeting place or mm, it is like a small city within the city where there's something like a royal people or leaders around.
Can you tell me more about what is going on with his leaders
Mm,
in that city?
they're quite large, very large beings, reptilian, like I am,
Okay.
like
So,
mm, something between human and reptilian.
okay. So you're like a hybrid between a human and a reptilian, or a hybrid of something else.
It sort of feels like, and these royal ones are much larger.
Okay.
Oh, they annoy me.
What do they do?
I laugh at them. They're just so stupid. They do not see the sand before them. I think they are very petty. And,
Mm-hmm.
um, they want people to worship them. They think people love them, but they don't. Oh, I am like a fear for them. And I tell them mostly things they want to hear.
Okay.
not things that are necessary for them to hear because they do not want to know what is necessary for them to know.
And so, what do you do? What is your job? What is your role within
Well,
society?
I have visions, and I can, because I cannot physically move, I have gained some connection to the other side.
Mm,
And so I can see, oh, they want me to predict the future or guide them. And but they do not want to know the truth. So
must be
I
difficult for
find
you.
myself, yes, I find myself very much frustrated with them, but I see their doom is coming.
Mm.
And I can't help but laugh internally.
And what
And I
happened to your
awake
body?
my, oh, it was born this way.
Oh, I was born that way.
It was just my burden to bear.
Mm.
But I have taken a liking to it because it has given me a connection to some some light on the other side that guides me, and it has kept me from needing to engage too much physically with society.
Okay. So, do you work with
So
these leaders?
yes,
Mm.
yes, they they want me to justify their rule,
Oh,
mostly to themselves.
and how do you do
They
that?
want well, they want to be worshipped, and so I tell them that I feel I tell them what they want to hear mostly, but occasionally I do tell them things I have noticed. I felt that they need to be careful of. They they do not see the risks that face them.
And what are those risks? What are they doing?
That is annihilation that's coming. It is a conflict with our overlords, so to speak, that they seek more resources. They seek more power as on the planet and
Mm.
on the hmm, I'm seeing that there's many of these. These are like lords and ladies, and there are many of them, but they're all vying for more power,
And these
and
overlords, are they the same species or a different species to you?
they're the same, but
Mm.
there's a caste system, so there's large physical differences between within the race because there's a caste system that has caused a large variation in appearance and form. So they're inbreeding.
I see.
Issues such as this. And then you get issues such as the ones I have. I am not very much related to these ones, but it is how things go in this society.
Okay. And so what happens next?
I'm seeing that there's so much infighting that there are those outside of the planet that I know it is within. It is only there are crafts that can drop bombs. I'm seeing there's been. This is what I'm warning them of. There has been a nuclear arms race, so to speak.
Tell me
And
more about that.
well, and all these groups are vying for power and have learned that having ultimate power is the preventative means of maintaining it. But that does not stay true when everyone has such weapons. So there's a proliferation of atomic weapons everywhere. And nobody thinks anyone will use them. But I have warned that once one does, everyone else will too. And this will cause mass destruction. And they will not believe me. And so I do not tell them because they think this is impossible just because it has not happened. Even though I point out that this is a evolving situation that is already so different than the one we have seen before. But I do not care because I also look forward to the end. I have seen so much slavery here
Well, tell me more
that I
about that.
am the lower caste is treated very poorly. So I do not think this is how things must be. And so I see this doom as an inevitability, but not necessarily a terrible thing. Mostly wish that things could have gone differently. But it just got how it is. I'm seeing the slave groups, and so there's a resource extraction that goes to other groups off planet.
Tell me
And
about the
this is
resource extraction.
a certain amount of energy a planet creates that can be siphoned off without harming the planet. And they're siphoning more of that than is necessary. Planet generates energy. So this is like mining something deep within the planet that has power source. Is mining this power source. It is not physical. Hmm, it's both physical and energetic.
And this power source, what do you use it for?
Hmm. Well, it's just needed to. It's able to power. It is like oil, but more, much more powerful. Far powerful. But it is very deep, and it is very abundant on the planet. So this is the business we'll get into here. And these, we call them lords, but they are like business owners as well, who are running these resource extraction businesses. However, over time, that there's no difference between that and a societal structure. So it is like a society and government and business all in one, but regionally separated.
And pyramid structures as well. What do you use those for?
Hmm. It is partially architectural, how things are built with large, heavy bricks. It is how we like things to appear. And but there are special pyramids that hold more power, and I spend most of my time in them. There are pools in them where people relax and it keeps them healthy, where we relax and it keeps us healthy. So there's some sort of current that goes through these pools in the pyramid that is healthy.
And is that what you use them for?
It is their main use, yes.
Mm, very interesting.
Yes, it's a large amount of water, and it is like a recreational activity, but it is also very healing.
Mm, very interesting. Now let's move away from that scene. We're closing that scene. And in a moment, let's go forward in the lifetime that we are viewing to another important day in the lifetime that we are going to view today. And as I count
Mm.
down from 3 to 1, you will be there. 3, traveling through that lifetime to the next most important day that we need to see. 2, almost there. That come to mind.
I just people seem the others seem so the society seems stressed and anxious, but distracted. They are all trying to pretend, but there's a great distress amongst all because there is things have escalated to become much more dramatic. It's still verbal fighting, but there's real threats being made. Just as I expected. There are many others who are feeling this sense of existential dread, and some are unbothered, and some are in denial, and some are very bothered. And it is causing so much stress amongst all, and that is unavoidable.
Oh, the threats, those nuclear threats that you talked about before.
Yes, yes. There are, it is, someone is going to make the first move, and everyone knows what happens then. So it just feels like palpable dread,
Mm.
and people don't know if they should. There's no reason you should run off into the desert, but the others don't know. They consider trying to go underground, but those plans are not feasible. So most just keep on with their normal duties as if nothing's going on, but are still so stressed.
And what is it that you do at this time?
I mostly sit back and relax and wait. I
You're not too
see
concerned, are you?
myself. No, I'm a lonely person, lonely being. I am. I am. I have love for this society, but I almost am living outside of myself. So I'm not too concerned.
No.
I feel as though I'm observing something from outside of myself in my daily existence all the time. Eventually it happens.
And walk me through
Mm.
what it's like when it happens.
It's loud, bright, hot, and then I'm gone. Loud,
Yes,
bright,
leave.
hot. Yep. You are all floating up into a light. And most are actually like, let's go. We, myself included. But some are clinging to it, like wanting to go back, even though it's dust, literally all dust. But most are like, okay, off to the next thing, especially the lower caste people.
And then feel yourself now, that non-physical part of you has moved up and out of that body, leaving that body behind. And as you move up and out of that body, I want you to look down at what happened, the surroundings. Describe for me what you see in that moment as you look down.
Just see the boom, 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 like big old, huge, like 500-mile long, bright white balls going off and burning everything, burning the air. Huge bombs, something huge bombs. It's not worth looking at, actually. even I don't want to see it. Just look up to the light that I'm flying into.
And as you look around you, if you see that bright white light that is waiting for you, you see that light, do you follow it?
Yeah, just go in. And I feel myself dissolving and becoming light again. Now I find myself, just whatever I've become, just laughing at the experience.
And in that beautiful place of home, as you can see yourself from a higher perspective here, you can see a higher perspective of that lifetime that we just viewed. I want you to tell me what the lesson was from that particular lifetime.
Mm. I learned about being calm in an incredibly stressful environment. It was forced upon me, but this calmness amidst the stress was a useful experience, despite how difficult and lonely the experience was in general.
What was the mission of that particular lifetime? What did you come to achieve?
I came to observe mostly and to experience it. There was never, at that point, there was no timeline where things could have been better. I wrote it past, so I was just there to experience and to help guide people, guide others back to the light. And the remaining calm amidst the storm was something that helped many of the souls let go of that experience. And there were many others on the planet at the time that were doing the same. Even though I felt lonely, there were actually many who were acting like ushers away from the experience.
So now we're leaving that lifetime, that personality that we once were, part of our multidimensional soul, back in the white light of souls for deep healing and reintegration with our oversoul. We're pulling back any lost soul fragments from that particular time and place and letting them heal back in the white light of home. And if the angelic team can assist us with that, if that's necessary, to collect all of those soul fragments up and place them back into the light for healing. These soul fragments will then be reintegrated back into the oversoul. When that healing is complete, now we're going to leave that part of ourselves there. And I'd like to ask for all of the consciousness of this one on the bed to reintegrate back into the body. And now I would like to ask to speak with this one's higher self, please. May I speak with this one's higher self? We've been in a very high frequency during this session, and it will be very easy for the higher self to make the connection now.
I'm here.
Beautiful. And you could have shown this one many different experiences today. Why did you show them the experiences that they were shown?
You need to feel it. You need to feel the reality that is the highest timeline before him. You need to understand, know that it was real by having the experience of it. The other lifetime was shown in order to impart to him that the usefulness of that peace and calm amidst the storm.
Mm.
Mm. And that it is perfectly okay to not get caught up in the anxiety, even when one knows that things are tumultuous. Their emotional state is still in their own control.
And has this come back in like a cycle for us to experience on Earth at the moment?
Hmm. In a sense, the many of the souls that experience that are reliving that and expect it to reoccur and feel the associated trauma, though this will not occur. It is only this nuclear holocaust is not something that will occur. It is only a memory that many have that was traumatic.
And that's very important to know where that comes from. And is there anyone in those lifetimes that we saw they're incarnated with today in this present lifetime?
Hmm. Not any more lifetime. No, it's not in the other lifetime, in the future.
Is there anyone from the lifetime on Mars that he knows?
Hmm. No, no, he was mostly a hermit sorts.
I see.
So he, there were some he knew. There were some who he, college, he has briefly interacted with again, but acquaintances. I think in this lifetime in Mars, I saw myself very negatively,
Mm.
and others did not necessarily see me negatively. I saw my deformity as something that made me an outsider, but there were many who saw a light in me that I did not recognize. I struggled greatly with isolation, but it was largely self imposed. And that is something that I have worked on in the current life.
And is any karma still playing out from that time?
Not for him. Though he does play a similar role in his work. Not not the same, but feeling some need to warn people, even though he knows that they don't care. It's not to say they warn people, but you practicing how to communicate these types of information better so that people cannot feel fear when hearing them. So this is an ongoing lesson that he is working on.
And speaking of which, he wanted to ask this question. what should one make of the apparent level of disconnection and social isolation today?
Mm. It is a coping mechanism for many souls who have gone through traumatic experiences and feel that those traumatic experiences are recurring. And indeed, they are recurring, albeit not on a global scale. So people out of fear are becoming more isolated. And this is okay, as it causes many to grow. It forces many to grow spiritually, because isolating oneself can force them to connect spiritually as a means of not feeling lonely. However, as one does so, it is good for them to re-engage with many others. And Harrison has learned this and has found it so much easier to communicate with others than he used to. So it is best to, when we look at the world and the negativity and loneliness that is common in his society today, he could see it as a phase that many are going through and a time of self-reflection that is greatly needed. Though some may not overcome this, most will overcome it and have positive outcomes.
And he wanted to know, would he be better foregoing social media if it feels like it often frustrates him?
Mm. A break would be good, but there is a balancing between engaging with the intent of doing, helping people, and internalizing the negativity that one receives. So if everybody who had positive intentions forego social media, they would be abandoning those who have succumbed to the negativity. So it is best to forego social media if one feels they are succumbing to the negativity. So, in other words, there is no need to demonize social media as something necessarily negative, but only take breaks and understand that it is currently a battlefield and will be so for some time.
And what's going on with the algorithm? As he feels that there is many strange things going on with very divisive and violent content being pushed.
There's a race to develop AI technology faster, competitive race. And this is causing many programmers to cut corners, so to speak. And it is essentially a mixture of bad programming, but there's also an effort to train out AI by engaging through through AI that comments, make like bot comment, and it's trained to promote engagement, which tend towards promoting divisive words and language. So this creates a self-fulfilling issue among AI where it is reading more and more negative language and then putting more negative language out there in bots that use these AI. And so as some of these AI systems are training on their own output, it is having what we would understand as a mental breakdown that is not happening for all AI systems, but it is breaking the algorithms which run social media. And this may seem negative, but it is also positive, as it will cause many to rethink their relationship with these tools
because
so
it's
that they understand them.
Yeah, particularly on Facebook and Instagram and Threads and all of these meta sort of ones. Are these ones in particular the meta apps?
Yes, this is something where the tool has been trained to make us its tool. And we need to understand that it is a tool for us to use. And Facebook and Instagrams has the largest reach and largest usage and is the most used by AI training systems. So it is the most prone to having algorithm related issues because many of its core functions are not working properly as engineers try to free AI far too fast than they can do safely. Safely as in with the intentions that we would expect them to have, such as content moderation and so forth.
And he was wondering, are there any risks that the world goes into a type of AI timeline?
This is a valid concern. And theoretically, if all people, or a great majority, even of high vibrational souls, collectively decided that they wanted this future, or were convinced that they want it so much that they did want it, then it could happen. But at this point, that is not the case. And most souls, and particularly most souls will not want this future. And so it will not occur because the collective consciousness as a whole does not seek it. Only a minority that cannot see anything better than integration with technology.
And will we still have AI, but not an AI timeline where AI sort of takes over?
The technology is neutral itself, just as most technology is neutral. It is a matter of the technology being a tool versus us becoming tools of the technology. And this understanding is becoming more common today, that we use our tools properly and we do not become their tools.
And is it possible to have AI in a more benevolent sense rather than a destructive sense?
AI is fundamentally a recreation of the principles behind a brain, not a mind, a brain, a physical brain, follows the same principles as AI structures. You might imagine that a thinking machine could have immense value, and it would. However, we would also say that its role, his current role as being a guide for people, will be replaced in that in the future, people will have a connection to the higher consciousness, higher collective consciousness. And so there is a sort of, that's understood as etheric or higher dimensional library, which serves a similar function to AI as it's being used today. So people could tap into knowledge. And so that is partially to do with the popularity of AI, as people seek instant knowledge because they know that that's possible. However, they could also find that within themselves. That is still not to say that many of the tools for AI, particularly in regards to engineering physical things, will be used in a positive way and are being used in a positive way. It can solve physical needs greatly, particularly in mathematics and analysis, certain things. It is, however, not an ideal tool for gaining knowledge compared to searching within one's inner world and connection.
And speaking of which, he's had some astral projection experiences lately. How can he get better at astral projection and connecting to that wisdom?
It will happen as he is ready. We are activating him more and more, and he realizes it comes in phases and waves. If you practice this more, then this will be accelerated. However, he only really desired to see so much at the time, and full astral projection requires some mental training for moving the astral body while remaining conscious to a degree in the physical body so as to remember and have control. And this physical structure takes time to develop within the brain, as this is the brain through the mind through the brain controlling a higher dimensional body outside of itself. This requires a change in the brain that is ongoing.
It's ongoing for him, is it?
Mm-hmm. The brain structure for movement is what he is currently working on. It is as though this occurs for many if they have dreams where they are trying to fly and are sometimes able to float. This is the brain practicing astral projection, or the brain developing this skill through practice.
And lucid dreaming and stuff like that. Is that the brain practicing that as well?
It can be. It can be. And there's also the ability for the brain to. There's the ability to see within one's inner world. And so lucid dreaming can be an experience such as the one we had today, seeing him in the future timeline. He physically experienced it, even though this is as though a alternate reality. It is future, but it is one of many possible futures. It is the most probable one.
And will his astral projection experiences, might be a little bit different because he's an angelic soul or a higher dimensional soul. Is there anything different about that?
In time, he will, but there is something he should know, that he finds that he is reluctant to seek experiences, even though he also wants to seek them. And this is because the light which he may find would be very strong and powerful, that he would struggle to reintegrate into his current life. He has experienced this before when we showed him what the true love he could feel is. We showed him only a small amount, and yet that was so much stronger than anything he had felt before, that it took him years to reintegrate from that experience. And so it will be easier for him to reach into this higher dimension as he feels that that is better reflected in the world around him. So to that, we advise him patience, and patience with himself, and to keep himself centered and in a state of joy.
And we wanted to know as well about a strange energy event in his house last month. What was that event and why have they been tired since that event?
The planet, there was an energy release in his region. No, not just his house, but the whole area around him had a energy release event. It was energy coming upward and moving through him. And the energy is strong in his home. And when one feels the energy around them, when there's more of it, it tends to make one tired as they're acclimating to it. That is to say, there is upliftment in the area around him, and that he is very sensitive to it, as are those in his household.
And is he assisting with the grid of the earth as well in the place where he is?
Mm. He is, as there are many dense energies where he lives that are from past ages that have caused some strain in the local population. And he is helping uplift, as are many in his area. It is as if to say there were many conflicts than bloodshed here, where in the early times of European expansion. And this energy is being released, though it has caused some strange, what he experiences as strange attitudes and a strange smell in the air and a strange beingness to many people around him. And he is helping freshen up that energy with something new.
Wonderful. And will that logging him into his divine blueprint and the original Earth grid, is that going to help with that, what we did today?
Yes, and this, in fact, was what helped him experience this future potential, because it connected him back into that type of body. That in experiencing that future potential, he now carries with him some knowing that will be felt by others around him and may inspire them in a cascade.
And how else will the upgrades assist him?
There's the defensive benefit of not taking in the negativity and stress around him, feeling that the one can be in a muddy pond, a muddy swamp, and yet not feel dirty from it. That is what it is like to stay connected to one's divine blueprint.
Wonderful. And he's not going to have any darker entities come on him either after
No,
this. So he can
no.
enjoy that.
And yes, and there's always the matter of free will, in that he will always stay connected to this as long as he remains focused on it. See that the world, there is an effort to alter one's focus in a negative direction. And as that focus flipped, then one, by nature of free will always shift downward and become more exposed. But know that this is there. One always can remain connected to it, and one can always reconnect to it with just thought and intention.
Wonderful. And with that, is the Orion consciousness rising on Earth today? And if so, what will become of it?
It's the trauma. The Orion consciousness has been present on Earth And it is true that they're showing him a chart to say there is an acceleration in human consciousness. And if we were to say the Earth was at one level, we would say the Orion consciousness was, in fact, slightly more evolved. There was a large range to that, but was a higher density consciousness than what was present on Earth before. However, there are then many levels of of consciousness experience that move above the Orion. So the one we saw today was very high, the future. And presently we are accelerating through the Orion consciousness. And so those with ties to it, including himself, are having more and more recollections of those traumas that were experienced, of which there are many, and even also of the positive experiences, of which there were many. And so that is playing out for positive and for negative today. And will do so until a decision is made on a collective scale to move past one's trauma and to heal. And so it is the intention of healing that was missing in the Orion consciousness, as there was a degree of disconnection, but not full disconnection. And this caused most to not understand the need for healing. Whereas on Earth, there was full disconnection for many. And so as we move through that, there becomes many who understand the need for healing and for refocusing in a positive direction and for healing past traumas that causes the rapid acceleration out and beyond and upward over the Orion experiences and consciousness level.
And is this something that can be healed in a later session or addressed in a later session when he's ready to do so?
He is he should understand that we show him these things so that he knows they are real, not so he will dwell on them. It's part of healing. It's acknowledging things that are real and true. It is a step that is necessary. And as one acknowledges the truth, then the healing becomes inevitable. And so he will feel more at ease with these experiences now, going forward.
Wonderful. So at another time, would it be best to have a look at those experiences, even if it's not the most difficult experience first, but maybe to ease him into that?
They can be. It may be good another time. It is something that today we encourage many to, well, for Harris, he has had some focus on the negative for some time in the world around him, similar to the experience on Mars, where he is well connected to the darkness and is not so scared of it and does not affect him. Yet, in time, when you're swimming in the mud, in the swamp, it is easy to get stuck there and to fail to realize that there is also positivity. And so, for him individually, based on his life experiences, we encourage him to keep a focus on positive sensations and inform him that it will become easier and easier to heal. And it will become something that's almost second nature to let go and forgive ourselves and others for what has happened and what cannot be changed. This will become very easy for many, but it is hard to forgive oneself, even when they took on an experience where they were doing so mostly to gain an understanding of the density, not doing so to get stuck in a karmic loop.
And is there anything else that he needs to know about that?
Hmm. Only to know that in the role he played, he did make a positive change by overcoming his programming in that life enough to see the light still. And this was very positive. And the negative experiences were as though one is part of the culture in the time, even though it is so dark compared to what he finds normal. We inform him that in the future, everyone will look back at their lives now. Everyone on Earth will look back on their lives today and feel some mixed feelings as to the things they did in the past, and yet will always find it easy to forgive and to move forward, because at this point, forward is the direction to go, not backward. At that point in the future, actually.
Wonderful. And is there any final messages for this one?
Mm. No, we can leave him with peace
Beautiful.
and love.
And can I ask you to keep upgrading the body and continuing with any healing that may be needed by this one over the next 3 nights in their sleep states?
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else, or are we complete?
We are complete.
Beautiful. And thank you for coming through today and conversing with me. Thank you for all of the help, healing, and wisdom you provided today.